Inside the mercenary guild, the silver-haired barbarian, Keel, stands with his arms crossed, his gaze steady as he looks toward the receptionist's desk. He asks plainly, what kind of request is it? The receptionist, Rosa, gestures to a clipboard in front of her. The document details a bank escort request. The targets are one woman and one elderly person, with the destination being the capital of the Damian Kingdom. She explains, just as it sounds, you'll escort the client to their destination safely. Keel considers this for a moment. Is that all? He asks. Rosa sits at her desk, looking up at him. Yes, but you'll be dragged along for at least a few days, and all the travel prep is also the mercenary's responsibility. Keel closes his eyes, processing the information. Rosa adds that while it will take a lot of effort, the pay is just as high. She pauses, her expression becoming serious. Keel's eyes snap open, his silver gaze sharp and focused. However, he repeats. Leaning forward slightly, Rosa states bluntly, it reeks. Her tone is grim. Honestly, this request stinks to high heaven. You risk a trip straight to heaven. So, you can refuse if you must. Before she can finish her warning, Kier cuts her off. You don't get it, Rosa. Rosa is visibly stunned by his response, her eyes wide with surprise and confusion. A confident smile spreads across Kier's face. That's exactly what makes it good, he declares, leaving Rosa utterly bewildered. Ignoring her confusion, Kier's expression turns serious again as he says, anyway, and takes the clipboard to review the details one more time. His eyes focus on the destination, the capital of the Damian Kingdom. Damian Kingdom, oh. He murmurs to himself. He pauses, a thoughtful look on his face as he tries to place the name. I feel like I've heard that somewhere before. Suddenly, a memory flashes through his mind, the image of a beautiful, smiling woman with long, light blue hair. The realization hits him in an instant. His eyes widen in shock as he stares down at the request form, a name echoing in his thoughts. Moana of the Akasha family. He remembers the merchant woman he met in the snowy plains. She had told him he would be welcomed if he ever came by, pressing an ornate jeweled crest into his hands as a token. Returning to the present, a wide grin breaks across Keel's face. This is perfect, he thinks to himself. He firmly places his hand down on the desk, sealing his decision. I'll accept the request. The moment he speaks, a wave of blue digitized energy flickers erratically in his vision. The strange interface glitches and distorts before his eyes, catching him completely off guard. Just outside, by a wooden cart, a bright blue panel materializes with a flash, confirming the quest has been accepted. Keel recoils as a bright blue holographic panel materializes before him. Its text sharp and clear, quest number 785. Escort the client to the Denying Kingdom. He stares at the interface, his expression a mix of shock and confusion. Wait, why is this popping up now? He thinks to himself, unearthed. Rosa, seeing him stare intently at what appears to be empty space, calls out hesitantly, Keel, sir. The sound of hurried footsteps approaches from outside. Suddenly, heavy wooden doors are flung open with a loud bang, causing a nearby woman to turn in alarm. An elderly man, Aaron, stumbles into the guild, panting heavily for breath. The young blonde woman, Ellen, approaches him with a worried expression. Oh, Aaron, what's going on? She asks urgently. Don't tell me. The trackers. Still trying to steady his breathing, Aaron looks at her and delivers the news. The request has been accepted. Ellen blinks in confusion. A look of sheer relief and excitement spreads across Aaron's face. He clenches his fist in triumph and declares, the only crank mercenary in this territory has accepted our request. Ellen's face instantly lights up, her worry completely replaced by surprised delight. A crank mercenary? She asks, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. Really? Aaron nods, his demeanor calming. Yes, you're scheduled to meet him tomorrow, so please get a good night's rest. Overjoyed, Ellen eagerly responds, why yes, later. Back in his room, Keel's. His gaze remains fixed on the floating blue panel displaying the quest's information. He turns away, his expression troubled as he processes the strange phenomenon. Why show up now after all this silence? He wonders to himself. He sits on the edge of his bed, deep in thought, the holographic window still hovering nearby. As he contemplates the situation, a new possibility enters his mind. So it wasn't exclusive to the white snowfield. He questions internally, his gaze sharpening with suspicion. The pieces begin to connect in a way he hadn't considered before. Or maybe he thinks, his eyes narrowing as a darker, more complex reality seems to loom. There's something more to this. Outside, a storm rages, lightning flashing across the dark, rain, soaked sky. Inside the quiet guild hall, Ellen sits at a table with Aaron. She looks down, her hands clasped together, a bead of sweat tracing her temple as she waits in anticipation. What kind of person could it be? She wonders to herself. Her mind conjures different images. Being a mercenary, maybe he'll look kind of sharp, she thinks, picturing a man with a severe expression. Or maybe he'll be all covered in scars. Her imagination then shifts to a bald, heavily scarred warrior. A slight blush rises on her cheeks as she clutches the front of her cloak, her eyes wide with a mix of nervousness and excitement. For some reason, I think he'll look cool, she concludes in her thoughts as the rain continues to fall steadily outside. The sound of heavy boots splashing in puddles outside signals an arrival. The wooden door to the guild swings open, and the small bell attached to it jingles. Rosa looks toward the entrance and says, "Ah, you've arrived." Ellen flinches, startled by the announcement. She quickly turns to look, her anticipation peaking. Finally, she thinks. A bright light pours in from the open doorway, framing the figure standing there. His face is cast in deep shadow, but his eyes seem to glow with an intense light. Ellen's own eyes widen in sheer shock, her breath catching in her throat. The man's large, muscular silhouette completely fills the entrance, casting a long shadow over them. He stands there silently, an imposing and powerful presence that leaves both Ellen and Aaron utterly stunned. The barbarian Keel takes a heavy step forward into the room. Ellen stares up at him, her face flushing as a single thought crosses her mind. Could it be? The sheer intensity of his presence is overwhelming. He stops before them, his voice calm and even. "Pleased to meet you," Ellen can only stammer. "A mercenary, sir," as tears of fear and shock well up in her eyes. The world seems to spin around her and she collapses backward. Aaron lunges forward, catching her just before she hits the floor. He holds her protectively, glaring up at Keel with pure panic in his eyes. No. Lady Ellen," he shouts, then directs his anger at the barbarian. "Why you? Who the hell are you?" Keel looks down at the scene, his expression unreadable. He thinks to himself. It's been a while since anyone in this territory looked at me this cautiously. Ever since I defeated that demon, no one here avoided me. Feels like I've become a walking time bomb. Ignoring Aaron's outburst, Keel turns to the receptionist. "Rosa, are these the ones I've hired?" From behind her desk, Rosa calmly replies, "Yes, that's correct." She looks at the document in her hands and begins the formal introduction. "Allow me to introduce them. This is the one who will be in charge of your escort, Barbarian Keel." Aaron stares in disbelief. "Well, what?" he stammers. Suddenly, he shoots to his feet, his face twisted in outrage. "A barbarian? What kind of nonsense is that?" he bellows, pointing an accusing finger. "Right now, please request a different mercenary." Rosa's professional demeanor vanishes in an instant. Her expression turns icy, and her eyes narrow into a sharp, intimidating glare. "So, you're saying..." She begins, her voice dripping with cold authority. "You're questioning the decision of our mercenary guild?" Aaron quickly backpedals, sweating under Rosa's furious gaze. "No, that's not what I meant," he says. But she cuts him off. "If you doubt the guild's judgment," she continues, her voice laced with menace as a fiery aura seems to surround her, "then we'll consider the contract void and return your payment." Completely intimidated, Aaron shrinks back, stammering, "No, that's not it." Just then Ellen, who has recovered, rises to her feet. "I'll accept it," she says, her voice steady. Aaron turns to her, his hand reaching out in protest. "Lady Ellen," but she ignores him and steps forward, extending her hand towards Keel. "I look forward to working with you," she says formally. Keel looks down at her offered hand, a flicker of surprise on his face. Despite the clear apprehension on her face, a mix of fear and determination in her eyes, Ellen holds her posture.